Hi, welcome to Business Tips with Michael Tobian. Today I'm asking the question, is it time for you to raise your price? Pricing is a tough thing to get right, especially for a new business owner where the owner might not really have enough experience in the industry to get a feel for what the market will bear. Seasoned business owners that have been around for a long time also face challenges with pricing as they sometimes don't adjust their expectations with the reality of what their value is. Because each industry and business is different, I'm not going to suggest a price that you should be charging, nor will I necessarily be suggesting that you adjust your price at all. I do want to propose some concepts though, and I'd like to suggest some questions that you might ask yourself to help you determine if a price adjustment is needed for your product or service. So let me propose two questions for you to ask yourself. The first one is, how much business do you currently have and why? The second question is, are you the value option or the luxury option? All right, that first question, how much business do you currently have and why? If you're priced too high, it's probably obvious to you. You might get a lot of pushback from customers, or you might lose a lot of business due to your pricing. However, it's not always obvious or easy to recognize when you're priced too low. I often find that successful service businesses have the problem of being too busy. Sometimes in these situations, they aren't charging enough. Why would you want to work full-time with a long waiting list at one price point when you can work full-time with a slightly shorter waiting list at a higher price point? I hate turning down work because I'm already booked. If your price isn't high enough, then you might be leaving money on the table. Let me give you 3 examples of conversations that I've had with business owners that illustrate this issue. Example number 1, I got a quote once from a highly respected construction company, and they told me that they were booked out solid and wouldn't be able to get to my project for 3 months. I knew the owner and I was comfortable enough with his friendship to ask him the question, why aren't you charging more money? His response was that he felt their pricing was right. It clearly wasn't though, because if you're turning down work or you can't get to your customers' needs for 3 months, then you are either not scaling efficiently, meaning you don't have enough employees or capacity to get the workload done, or you aren't charging enough. To solve this problem, you might want to look into how to invest in your company to be able to handle more work, or increase your price so that your waiting list is shorter. Customers on your waiting list will be happier that they're not in a long queue, and you will make more money. Example number 2. I have a friend that's a very in-demand music teacher. He has 50 students or so with a waiting list, in addition to all the other work that he has, session work, live gigs, other music-related business. He was talking to me, and he said he was considering raising his price by a very small amount. Being in the music industry myself, I have a pretty good handle on what the going rates are for music lessons. He was on the higher end of the rates, but there are people in town that are charging more. I suggested to him that he significantly increase his price for lessons. He was shocked to hear the amount that I had suggested. In talking through the scenario, I believe that if he could charge enough to eliminate that waiting list that he has and have his students at about 90% capacity, rather than over 100% capacity, which he was currently operating at, then he would be making significantly more money, and it would free up some of his time to do other things. Because he's such an in-demand teacher, I believe he could almost double his price from where it is right now. Ultimately, I don't believe he followed my advice because he just couldn't wrap his mind around that when we were talking, that big of a price jump. I have a business that provides a very high-end luxury service. We charge sometimes over 10 times what other similar services are charging, but our clients pay it because we're worth it, and we are that much better than those competitive services. Your clients aren't going to advise you to increase your price. They're only going to tell you if you're too expensive. So this idea of a price increase is something that you have to analyze and you have to take the risk to do on your own. You can easily get stuck in a price point that's too low and no alarm bells are going to go off. You'll just be slammed with work. Example number 3. As a teenager, I did some temporary work for a printer sales company. The owner was a very savvy businessman. On a break once, I heard him walk up to the sales manager of the company and he said, "What are we charging for this product?" I don't remember what the product was. The sales manager told him, and then he said, "How many of these are we selling every day?" The sales manager again told him, and then he said, "Yeah, well, those are flowing in too fast. Let's bump up the price to X amount." Even as a teenager, I was taken back by how quickly he had made such a decision. Many people wouldn't bother examining the price of a product that was selling really well. I'll bet that this individual rarely left money on the table with the products that he was selling. All right, here's the question number 2 that you should ask yourself. Are you the value option or are you the luxury option? I was in the social media app Clubhouse today, and I was listening to a discussion about being in the luxury market. Much of the discussion dealt with nuances that are expected from vendors that deal specifically with high-end clients. We discussed everything from the way contracts look to the way you dress and present yourself in this higher-end market. Most of my business endeavors are in this high-end luxury market. My customers are usually businesses and individuals that are willing to pay a premium for the best product available. Their goals are different than the clients that work within limited budgets. Certainly in any market, budgets and pricing is a consideration, but my sales process is more focused on giving my clients confidence in our product than it is on convincing them that we're inexpensive. Similarly, our efforts in fulfilling our services are focused on exceeding the client's expectation in every way, rather than cutting corners. I'm in the wedding industry as a provider of wedding entertainment. And in my area, I've noticed that there seems to be 2 completely separate wedding industries. The destination market that deals with high-end clients with large budgets, often they're traveling in from out of town, and the local market that deals with lower budgets. This past year, I had a conversation with my staff about this. We decided to make it a goal to connect with and get to know every single wedding venue in our state. There's a lot of them, so we're still working on it. But one of the things I noticed is that there seems to be almost no crossover between these 2 markets. The venues that are servicing budget-friendly clients are recommending completely different vendors than the ones that are hosting destination clients. At one such venue, the name of a very well-known catering company came up. The venue coordinator at this small venue had not even heard of this company. While the majority of our services are for high-end clients, we have many bands and ensembles that represent a lower price point as well. While in the process of navigating all of this, we find that we are featuring different products to each sub-industry. The lower budget client venues tend to be more interested in our string quartets and jazz combos and things like that. And the high-end venues are more interested in our high-end party bands and acts and some of our extended services. Regardless of what industry you're in, examine who your clients are and what your services represent. Do you offer a high-end premium service, or do you provide a budget-friendly, lower-end service? If you're in the luxury service market, then you might want to examine your pricing in a completely different way. Are your services worth more than your competition? If so, maybe it's okay that you're priced higher than they are. Ultimately, the free market will make this determination. I hope these concepts helped you to view your pricing structures a little differently than you have in the past. Good luck, and make sure to subscribe below and follow for more business tips from me in the future.